Rejoice with me, brethren, for behold.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Alright, I had to throw that out, seeing how close we are to Halloween. But yes, my latest book, The Two Swords of Christ, is finally born. I just received my author copies, the very first in existence, and wanted to share my joy with you. I'm sure many authors agree, but seeing all your hard work finally manifest in the flesh, as it were, is a very pleasing experience. Now, it's a hefty volume, 512 pages, my longest yet, with 4 maps, 16 pages, of full color pictures. I don't know if you can see, but yeah, you will see. Now, for a more detailed overview of what the book is about, check out an earlier video I did, link in the description. But in brief, it's a comprehensive history of the Christian military orders, especially the two most important, the Templars and the Hospitallers. It's about their origins, their rationale, their theology, one of the most interesting aspects, and of course their long conflict with Islam. Incidentally, of all my books, this is the one that most directly covers the Crusades. Although it's not about the Crusades per se, the orders were so central to them, often their backbone, that it was inevitable to explore those holy wars in detail. So for all you Crusade fans, this is the book for you. But it also goes far beyond the Crusades, which traditionally end around 1291 in the Holy Land. The book's subtitle is 5 Centuries of War between Islam and the Warrior Monks of Christendom, because it roughly covers the years between 1100 and 1600. Though I really go all the way to the present, discussing how these orders are remembered and understood today. Now, many of you have asked how to get an advance copy. The official release date is November 25th, about a month from now. If you pre-order on Amazon, where it's currently the #1 best-selling new release in the history of Christianity category, I'm happy to say, you'll receive it on or after that date, November 25th. However, I've decided to part with 10 or so of my author copies. If you'd like one, visit my website, link in the description, make a much appreciated donation, and I'll sign, personalize, and mail you one of these newly minted copies. Depending on how soon you order, say you order today, you'll get it almost a full month before everyone else. Now let me close by reading a short excerpt to give you a taste of the book's contents and tone. This comes from chapter 46, and it's about one of the masters of the Knights of St. John, the Hospitallers, whose name was John of Heredia. He became a knight in 1328 at age 17 in Aragon, Spain. After half a century of warfare against the Moors of Spain, he was elected master of the Order of the Knights of St. John in 1377 at the age of 67. Now here's a brief excerpt of what happened next. Quote, after setting sail from Naples to assume his new position as master of the Knights of St. John in Rhodes, he and his men encountered a Venetian fleet off the coast of Morea, battling the Turks, who had just seized the town of Patras from Venice. Coming aboard the master's vessel, the Venetian general begged him, for the common good of Christendom, to join forces with him to recover Patras out of the hands of the infidels. These are quotes. Although the newly minted master's presence was urgently needed in Rhodes, his courage prevailed over his interest, and he embraced with joy an occasion of signalizing his warlike talents against the eternal enemies of his order. So the two fleets joined, landed their troops, and marched straight to Patras. The siege was long and hard, and, quote, now this is a quote from a primary source, the order lost several knights of distinction, but at last the machines made use of in those times, having made a breach, the master, impatient of so long a resistance, takes a ladder, claps it to the breach, mounts up, first sword in hand, and without minding whether he was followed or not, throws himself into the place. The Turkish governor, on his side, opposes his progress with great courage. A duel ensues between them, till the Christian, more expert or else stronger than the infidel, runs him through, kills him, cuts off his head. While his knights, uncertain of the master's fate, mount up the breach in crowds to his succor, bear down all before them, and breaking into the place, put the garrison to the sword. End quote. And this is me now continuing the book. Not content, and apparently now taken by a war frenzy, the 67-year-old master and veteran of many battles against the Moors of Spain continued alongside the Venetians deep into Morea, until he was captured by the Turks. On learning of his identity, they sent him to a castle in Corinth and kept him under strict guard. His men compelled the Venetians to offer to return Patras to the Turks in exchange for their master's release. But the Muslims haughtily refused, saying that, quote, being masters of the Morea, they knew how to recover that place in less time than the Christians had employed in reducing it. His inconsolable knights would not relent, and offered beside Patras a very considerable sum of money and 3 grand priors as hostages to be kept until the whole was paid. The Turks agreed, but when they informed the master of the good news of his upcoming release, he refused to consent that 3 grand priors should become hostages on his account. Preferring riches and patras to some old infidel, the Turks allowed his knights to visit and implore John Heredia to reason, but in vain did his knights labor by their prayers and tears to gain his consent for this exchange. Nothing could shake his resolution. He would not even allow the order to pay his ransom. "If it must be paid," said he, "my family has received estate enough from me to give this proof of their gratitude." In other words, if someone's going to pay for it, it should be his own family. "Otherwise, let me alone, my dear brethren," he continues. "Suffer a useless old man that cannot live much longer to die in prison, and do you, who are younger, reserve yourselves to be serviceable to the order." Not knowing what to do, the confused Turks sent him away into captivity. He was shut up in a close prison, and instead of enjoying his new dignity as master of Rhodes, he was kept above 3 years in a rigorous slavery. His family eventually managed to ransom him. Rather than retiring with every possible honor, Heredia, now 70, picked up right where he left off. He sailed to Rhodes, resumed his mastership, and led his knights into many more victorious battles against the Muslims until 1396, when the 86-year-old battle-scarred master did at last succumb to mortality. And that's just one of many such men you'll encounter in these pages. All right, there it is. I hope you'll consider pre-ordering The Two Swords of Christ from your preferred bookseller so you can receive it around November 25th. Or, if you want an early signed copy, follow the link in the description. Bye for now.